It's the 2025 Worlds quarterfinals between the LPL 2nd seed AL and the LSK 4 seed T1. AL finished the Swiss stage with a commanding 3-0 record against HLE, Gen.G, and CFO. Meanwhile, after defeating IG 3-1 in the play-ins to advance as the final team for Worlds, T1 had a shaky journey going 3-2 in the Swiss stage, defeating FlyQuest, 100 Thieves, and MKOI, but lost against CFO and Gen.G, which were both teams that AL beat. Many saw the series as one that could have taken place in the grand finals of the tournament, but just so happened to take place in quarterfinals due to the luck of the draw. Would AL be the first LPL team in history to beat T1 in the best of 5 at Worlds? Or would the T1 at Worlds buff prove too strong even when at their seemingly most vulnerable state? Let's get into it. There's going to be a common theme throughout this series in particular, where T1 wants to get their bot side ahead, while AL want to obviously prevent that from happening. Doran uses his early trinket for a slight advantage in the bot lane, but it gets cleared immediately by Kyle. Both supports decide to go Spellbook as a rune page for the mid-game flexibility, and Gumayushi decided to go Comet, which indicates that he's going to be going for a poke-heavy item build instead of an auto-attack based build, since he clearly doesn't want to get anywhere near the enemy Rek'Sai or Kiana. Both of the junglers opt to go for a full red to blue 6-camp clear, so the early game is going to be pretty uneventful. You're going to see both mid laners positioning towards the side of the jungler so that if they get ganked, they have some form of backup waiting nearby if they had to fight.
As Owner has secured the bottom side, Scuttle Crab drops off a Raptor ward of his own. Both junglers will pass through the mid lane.
It looks like Owner wanted to go for some kind of Raptor steal after an awkward stare down at mid, but since Kyle was moving up, he had to call it off. I like how you can always tell what information each team has based on the pings on the map. Here you see AL pinging that Pantheon could be either going towards Wolves or ganking mid, while T1 knows where Kiana is very likely to be. Both of these assumptions stemming from the first pathing the junglers took at the start of the game.
Alright, taking a look down here in bottom lane, you can see the farm even here as it is pretty much everywhere.
Kyle does an interesting play here, where his initial recall gets cancelled by Gumayushi from a ward, and after Braum secures a cannon minion, he walks out of vision to presumably try recalling again, but he uses his slight vision gap to sneak into the bush and gets a surprise engage on the Varus.
Yeah, I think if you're T1 though, you kind of try and look for Paguma, might be caught, forced to flash.
But the other side is not warded.
Oh, Owner with the flash into the stun, going after Shanks, but he flashes to buffer through it.
Now that the Ryze flashes down, AL had to play a little safe and sends their Ryze to the side lane while the bot lane moves up, and they make sure that Pantheon can't get any possible angles to ultimate onto the Flash's mid laner. Because of the constant hovering from Tarzan and Kyle, neither team is able to get an advantage until Flandre manages to slowly whittle down the top turret in the 1v1 against Doran with the help of Grubs. But now that all of the carries have hit their first item spike and flashes have come off cooldown, both sides look for a fight at the second dragon. Doran pulls the trigger and flash ultimates for the instant stun. Tarzan is scared of some kind of follow-up CC and is forced to flash out. And now AL's damage is completely spread out, as Carrier manages to exhaust Shanks, which means Hope is the only one actually doing damage to him, while Flandre and Kyle are still stuck on Doran. Faker gets a crazy 2-man Tadia flick in the middle of everything, which leads to the Sion Q and Rakan engage. Carrier stalls out the backline long enough while T1 gets first blood at 14 minutes, and the Kiana ult comes out too late as T1 slowly chases down the low HP members of AL one by one.
Tarzan finds a supreme display of talent and making a 1-for-1 so far, but T1 have the health bars. Faker rides the Weaver's wall as Carrier's about to die into the back line, but Kyle falls, Tarzan falls, T1, they'll lose Carrier as Gumayushi fights back, and Shanks is on the run. Faker and Guma looking for a little bit more with a piercing arrow going over the wall, and Faker's ready to flash. Another rock is thrown, and Shanks is buried.
It's not over though, because after Flandre pushes out bot, he sets up a play by staying hidden in the bush to try to pick off whoever shows up to clear the minions. Faker assumes that he's safe because he sees most of the members of AO on the map and has Owner right behind him for backup. But before T1 can react in time, Rek'Sai tunnels out of the bush as the Ryze ultimate gets channeled and AO immediately bursts down Faker before his team can save him. Doran shows up too late and has to run, and unfortunately wastes his teleport, leading to another advantage for AL. The Otacon spawns and AO know that they have TP advantage, so they want to just stall out T1 near the objective so that Flandre can shove out the bot wave. If T1 send over too many members to fight him, then AO will get an easy Otacon with numbers advantage, and if they only send one person like Doran to stop him, then Flandre should be able to slowly win the 1v1 and take even more turrets over time. If T1 go for a fight, Flandre can easily teleport over for a potential 5v4 while Doran is left behind. But disaster strikes as right when Flandre fully commits bot to finish off the tower, Hope decides to E forward for some reason like he's playing Aram, which Carrier punishes immediately with an engage.
Ready to try to respond here with the grand entrance. Hope tries to get over the wall. He sidesteps the seismic shot, but the damage from Owner is way too much.
While the fight was happening, Doran kept chasing down Flandre so that he couldn't teleport to help his team. After Ezreal and Braum get picked off, both top laners realize that teleporting now would probably be a waste, so Doran stops chasing, while Flandre looks to continue the 1v1 fight since, in his eyes, the fight on the other side of the map is already over. But once again, right as Flandre re-engages the 1v1, AO decides to go in again with the Kiana ultimate, and now both top laners are stuck in an awkward spot. Flandre finally manages to get his TP off, while Doran sprints over as fast as he can with his ult.
With a little bit more damage, kills off the T1 jungler. The Realm Warp's ready to go in, and Shanks wants another. The arrows fly out as Doran charges in. Shanks with a flash to the side to avoid the engage coming out from T1's top laner. Doran's gonna try to run. Another arrow flies out from Gumayushi.
But because AO's bot lane is respawning and T1 are too low, AO make the call to rush Otacon while T1 want to recall as fast as they can so that they can regen HP and potentially contest with a double teleport. But with the Ezreal ult stopping Gumayushi's base, T1 don't have time anymore and instead decide to set up on the other side of the map for the next dragon. AO show up just a little too late and T1 get to Dragon Soul Point. After some farming for 5 minutes, the game deciding moment arrives, as whoever wins the next fight will most likely be able to get Baron and Snowball for the win. Going into the fight, T1 managed to get 3 items on both Faker and Gumayushi, while their AL counterparts are still stuck on 2.5 items. Watch this crazy positioning that T1 do here. Keria, Doran, and Owner are in the front watching all of the openings like a big connected shield, as Faker and Gumayushi slowly poke from far away. AO desperately need to find a way to get to the backline, so they're going to be looking for flank angles, but they just don't have enough vision to walk up too far and eventually make a mistake.
Early here for AL just to make sure the health bars stay topped off. Flandre marked on the side. Seismic shove onto the AL top laner. Chain CC on the Flandre. He's already down. T1 have found the pick. Supreme display of talent. Tries to hold the line, but into the back line goes Owner. Hope is being chased. Tarzan's being killed. Anyone's legend is being crushed as Shanks tries to fight back in a 1v4, but he'll get nothing but an epitaph as T1 kill 4 and take Soul.
T1 secured the Baron, and now AO have to go for some kind of cheese pick before they get pushed in. So they called a group of bot for a final Hail Mary to try to pick off whoever comes to clear the wave, just like how they did earlier in the game. But T1 knows of this exact possibility as pings go off in the bot lane bushes where they think AO could be hiding. And Gumayushi patiently waits until his entire team shows up to the lane at the same time so that they can walk in together. And this leads to AO being caught out in a really bad position.
But do they know AL are in the bush?
AL trying to set some kind of a trap. They know a fair fight doesn't favor them any longer. Kyle gonna be trapped on the wrong side of the Weaver's wall. Seismic shove connects onto Shanks, who immediately goes golden. But it's gonna be a 2-for-1 deal. Supreme display of talent at least takes Carry out in the process. But T1 have still won the fight.
T1 break down the tier 2 bot turret, then immediately recall to shove out top and mid, and ends their Baron push after taking a total of 5 turrets. Elder Dragon has spawned and AO are running out of time. Their top lane is slowly pushing with a huge wave of super minions, so they have no choice but to try to flip the objective before the wave pushes into their base. T1 know that they have time on their side, so they're going to try to take things as slow as they can by pulling out the dragon and taking advantage of the long range poke. As the Elder Dragon gets to half HP, T1 make the call to all in.
Elder Dragon down to about 1/2 HP. Hope taking a chunk of damage. Doran charging in. Weaver's wall over the top. Kyle's gonna be caught. A ton of burst onto the support of anyone's legend, and he's already down. T1 charge forward. Double killing Gumayushi. Pressure onto Tarzan. Triple kill Guma. AL are cut to pieces, and T1 holds the sword. Flandre's last to die. An ace for T1 will be the end of Game 1.
But instead it's Gumayushi slamming the Draven. But it's the Anivia.
Faker Anivia.
Game 2 starts with Faker getting a late ward on AO's Raptors. So depending on when Tarzan decides to clear the camp, T1 will know what his jungle pathing is. Tarzan does red into golems, into raptors, and gets spawed by the ward. So T1 expects that he'll continue his full clear by heading upwards to his blue side, but Tarzan knows that he's in full vision. So after he finishes up the raptors, he ducks just outside the ward range into the fog of war and starts heading bot for a gank. Right now, T1 assumes that Wukong is going to his wolves, so they don't put down any wards, since in their eyes, it'd just be a waste if the jungler's on the other side of the map. But Tarzan conditioned them to think like that, and manages to get off a sneaky play.
3 gank potential here in the bottom lane. Keria goes in with a dredge line. A lot of damage onto Kyle. He flashes away. Gumayushi flashes after. One more spinning axe is going to do it, but no! Hope denies it as Keria has to flash over the wall to escape.
AL are going to try to prevent the Draven from cashing out his adoration stacks as much as possible, so that he'll be completely useless later on. And even though the Wukong had to slow down his clear speed to gank, it was definitely worth it to slow down Draven's power spikes. After the gank, Keria knows that AO are probably going to recall, and Gumayushi will be able to farm safely under turret for a little while from the crashing wave. So T1 made the call for their support and jungler to gank mid from both sides.
Yeah, Shanks has to immediately get out of there. Justice Punch clears the wall, but now the follow-up there from the Flash Frost.
Once again, T1 know where AO's jungler probably is based on his initial jungle pathing. So when they think that Wukong is on the bottom side of the map, They look for a dive on Flandre on the other side. Owner Qs twice on a minion so that his next auto will knock at the target and they go for the all-in. Ambessa manages to stay alive long enough to trade the kill by eating all the cookies and pots in his inventory like it's Christmas morning. And now Flandre is forced to teleport back so that he can crash the wave as fast as he can, which leads to T1 getting a teleport advantage as Doran waddles his way back to lane. Shanks also recalled on Galio, so Faker doesn't feel too pressured from any potential ganks as nobody is even in lane, but using that timing, AO pinged to go for an ultimate combo.
Flandre has hit level 6, eyeing up Faker on the Eevee in this mid-wave.
Looking for that public execution, and he finds it. Faker gets jumped on. Flandre going in, trying to proc the rebirth, and they get it. They've scrambled the egg, and there's the feat of warfare for anyone's legend.
AO make the call to send their bot lane mid, and Galio bot now that Anivia has reached level 6, while T1 send their bot lane top to bully the Ambessa. They also send Rumble down with his ultimate and TP advantage. T1 position around Grubs, but it looks like they wanted to go for some kind of top dive on the Ambessa with no ult or flash. But AO smells something weird and sent Poppy to defend with the unsealed spellbook teleport, and T1 returned to doing the objective. Keria actually manages to go across the river just as the AO Scarlet vision goes out, and Shanks isn't fully ready for the instant gank from the vision disappearing and gets caught in a bad position.
You can see the way Kyle is playing though to match these roams from Keria is a little late on this one though.
Yeah, Shanks could be in some danger as the axes spin. Shanks forced to flash again, but the whirling death doesn't quite catch him. The angle wasn't there.
Guma wants to recall to hit his Bloodthirster power spike around the dragon spawn timer, but the Silver W barely manages to clip the recall, and now the back timing gets completely messed up. This also allows Hope to get a bunch of free gold from the tower platings as the top laners go for a fight.
Bouncing through the wave to stop Gumayushi's back as Doran goes in from a ton of damage here with a Flandre. The public execution plus the flash to try to get away. Flash Electro Harpoon coming out. Doran, but no!
Galio has to run top to potentially save the Ambessa, but T1 instantly made the call to rush the dragon now that they had the numbers advantage bot side. And Guma gets a crazy cash out by sniping the low HP Flandre with his ultimate. Just look at how the gold difference between the ADCs go from almost 1000 to basically even in just one kill due to Draven's passive. AO decide to not contest Dragon and instead keep pressuring the turret and camp in the bush to wait for T1 to walk up after finishing the objective.
Yeah, AL's got to be careful here. Kyle gonna have a nice keeper's verdict to make the fight unfair. Carry is your first target. His owner wants to go in after Kyle now. Loses half his HP. Boomerang blade takes Carrier down to 150.
AL are just stalling though, waiting for Ambessa to respawn. And with Galio making his way over from mid, along with Faker being in a very awkward spot, AL make the call to go in.
Into the fight as Tarzan tries to find some damage onto Faker. Shanks looking to cut him off. The egg, again the rebirth is triggered as Flandre's made his way into the fight and Gumayushi goes back over the wall. Carrier dredge lines back to safety as Shanks dives in beside Kyle. A double kill for Tarzan.
AO send the Galio with TP bot lane, and since they know that Rumble doesn't have TP himself, they're going to want to force a fight around the Rift Herald as much as they can, or punish T1 for walking up too far. And right as Carrier goes for a hook, Galio starts to teleport immediately. Kyle charges into Owner, which gives him the distance to get a nice double knockup on the Flash's ADC, and it stalls long enough for the rest of AO to show up.
Kyle jumps in with a point blank keeper's verdict. Shanks has arrived. They're looking at Gumayushi and they find the taunt. Guma's already down. T1 are routed as they try to escape.
But now that some time has passed, Rumble is now the one with TP, while Galio does not TP himself. So if anything happens on the top side of the map, T1 should be able to get a fight with numbers advantage.
A little worried about his positioning.
Yeah, he's getting caught out here by Flandre. Public execution, though, not lined up
TPs are
correctly.
coming.
Now Flandre has to flash away. T1 committing to look to find the kill onto the Ambessa.
But during all this, Gumayushi gets caught trying to clear a pink ward and gets chased down by the AL bot lane, which eventually gets Carrier picked off as well. It's a nightmare situation, since instead of getting a free pick on Ambessa, T1 lose 2 for 1 along with all the Draven stacks, and AL use a tempo to push mid, bot, and eventually pick up a dragon as well. But since T1 knows AL have to recall to spend all the gold they just got, T1 made the call to immediately rush on the Otacon. But Tarzan actually stuck around while the rest of his teammates recalled, just in case he had to go for a steal. Before the Otacon can go down, Wukong flashes in with his engage, which gives the Galio a crazy ultimate angle, and the combined CC along with the redemption from Poppy stalls long enough for the rest of AL to show up to the fight.
Tarzan's low, and the Whirling Death's gonna find the execution. T1 still fighting back as the Otacon is slain by Owner, but he dies in the middle of the fight.
T1 had to limp out after another 2-for-1 trade, and although they're happy to trade that for an Otacon, AO answer back right away with another bot and top lane turret before T1 can defend them. AO find Owner in the jungle and think that it's a free pick, but fighting in these small corridors is where T1's comp shines, as Faker puts out the Anivia ult on top of the Rumble ult into the Xin Zhao ult, and the rest of AO get completely zoned from doing damage. T1 keep kying backwards as AO have to continue walking through the hot cold double ultimate combo.
So low, it's 2 dead on the AL side. side, but Hope is still alive. Faker flashes back over the wall, but Shanks is burning. Flandre caught in the middle of everyone. Anyone's Legend have overplayed their hand, and T1 is ready to punish. Hope should be next to die.
Nobody knows how, but T1 get a clean 5-0 ace, and everyone can't help but think that Worlds might actually be completely scripted in T1's favor. But since Faker had to use Flash in the previous fight, AO are going to try to engage onto him immediately on the first chance they get. Tarzan sees an angle and flash goes over the wall onto Anivia. Flandre just completely misses his ultimate on Faker somehow, and AO don't have enough damage to burst him down, as Ono manages to secure the dragon and all the chaos.
T1 trying to scramble. The damage comes down and Flandre flashes back over the wall as Ono's first to die. T1 on the run. Kyle wants a wall slam, but he can't quite find it. Hope goes in for Goma, and he cuts him down.
But just as the Ice Bird giveth, the Ice Bird taketh away, as Faker goes for the biggest win trade teleport in World's history and gets completely taken out, which leads to not only his top laner dying, but his support as well, as Keria tried to save his roam up with a hook, only to get caught himself, which leads to a free Baron for AL. Faker probably thought that he could get to the Baron first after recalling to try to zone AL from rushing the objective, but yeah, the timing was pretty bad. With the Baron and powered minions, AL slowly take down 2 inhibitors, a dragon, and then push for the win.
Everybody else groups up to defend the only remaining tier 3 turret, but over the wall goes Tarzan. Faker's got to try to stay safe into the back line. Public execution onto Faker. Redemption's not there in time. The egg has already been procced, but he will not be reborn. A kill onto Owner follows. AL's already found 2, and they want Guma Yoshi. Doran and Keria will be next to die as T1 are wiped off of Summoner's Rift. Anyone's Legend with a clean ace to win game 2. But it does leave the Bard still on the table, and AL's hovering it.
This is what I'm saying. It is a big weapon for Kyle, too. Everybody knows, yes, carry the Bard.
I haven't talked about the draft as much because this video is already going to be pretty long, but I was surprised AL left Bard open for Keria to pick, and I was more surprised T1 didn't first pick the Bard themselves and instead went for the K'Sante. But hey, we got the Brad either way, so sounds good to me. Keria went Blitzcrank to counter the Bard, but every Bard main knows that Blitzcrank can never counter Bard if Bard is never in lane to get countered.
Sure. Does have the sweeper once again as well.
Okay. Ooh, nice little quick trade there from Faker as he sidesteps, but Shanks gets pulled.
T1 have to run away from the sheer aura exuding from the Brad, and is forced to use heal to escape the chime time. Bard Q! He's too tanky. Ooh, hook dodge. Ooh, hook dodge. Ooh, hook dodge. Dude, I am sorry. It's going to be really hard for me to provide proper commentary this game. Jin, can you dodge a hook? Good Q, Bard.
They decide to alter them very quickly. Another hook lands, though.
Oh, the tower! Underneath the turret, Kyle has to flash away.
Yo, why is Bard so wide? Anyways, both junglers went for a red to blue side 6 camp here again. Not really that important, honestly. Not like Bard's gonna stay in this lane for that much longer. T1 go for a gank mid, and I feel like Shanks wanted to bait something since Jarvan and Bard were kind of nearby, but he might have underestimated the damage and had to flash out after getting too low. T1 go for a lane swap and send Ziggs top because K'Sante against a roller is a miserable matchup, so it makes sense. Here, Yona, have some cocoa! T1 go for a gank with a Blitzcrank, but even though they land everything, they don't have enough damage to confirm the kill, so Shanks just awkwardly walks away. Faker's too busy reading the 3 books he bought and gets caught in the middle of nowhere. Keria heck flashes over the wall to save Faker with a heal, and just as it looks like he's going to get out, Faker uses his substitution jutsu to replace himself with his jungler, and Owner gets sacrificed instead as AO pick up the first dragon. Doran casually goes for a 1v2 as Bard parasocially watches his Jin getting smacked, but every Bard main knows that if Jin died there, then it's just ADC diff, so not too much to worry about. AO decides to completely give up bot lane as Shanks roams up for the Grubs fight, and since Doran's teleport isn't up for a few more seconds, T1 can't really contest and give up the objective entirely, as Doran tries to get as many pings as he can. Hope decides in typical ADC fashion to walk up for a cannon minion when there's no wards and gets punished for breathing, as T1 sprint at the Jin like he owes him money. Hope panic flashes at Bard once again, watches parasocially from the side as his ADC gets smacked, but there's nothing Kyle can do to save bad gameplay and takes his own forward to safety. Faker tried to 1v1 Flandre in the top side during all that, but he remembered he left the stove on, so he backs off. The second dragon spawns and AO interestingly looked to contest. T1 has a completed item on 3 of the members going into this fight, while AO decided to delay the first item by going tier 2 boots instead. So this fight doesn't seem like it ended well for them. Before Flandre can get his teleport off, T1 finds an engage angle on the Jarvan. Kyle tries to ult Tarzan so that he doesn't get bursted by the Vi Ziggs ult combo, and Faker steals the Bardo from the bottom as Doran finally shows up with TP.
Tarzan survives for now, but T1 is bringing everybody to the show. Doran in the middle of the Cataclysm, the stolen Tempered Fate. Tarzan's already down, Kyle's about to die. T1's found 2. Shanks is in the middle of everybody and he has to try to get away. He wants to charge Q3. He gets over the wall for now.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why AO decides to fight here. Kyle goes for a Dragon Steal, but he obviously didn't watch enough of my videos and fails to get the objective. The replay cuts to Gumayushi getting caught out mid, and we don't get any information to how the situation came about, but I'm assuming that Guma walked in for a cannon like a typical ADC and got caught for it as per usual. Nobody can fact check me on this, so it must be true. T1 are going to try to keep fishing for hooks, since you know that's what a Blitzcrank does, by putting out wards and bleeding out the enemy's vision, but unless Keria has 2 or more teammates directly near him to burst the target he hooks, T1 actually won't have enough damage to secure the kill. So as long as AL roughly know where everyone is, the pressure of a Blitzcrank hook gets drastically lowered. Kyle gets a really good Bardo because he uses it in a way where T1 either had to get hit by it and eventually die, or they had to dodge it by walking closer to AL, which gives them an easier engage. And since Gumayushi still doesn't have flash up, he gets easily picked off as AL get another kill. This leads to a top turret and a Rift Herald as T1 try to trade on the other side of the map with a bot turret of their own. AL put down the Rift Herald mid so that T1 had to respond and clear it out, which will give AL time to do the dragon. Faker takes the Bardo to potentially stop the Herald charge, but they kinda just kill the Herald before AL can get into position, so it just gets wasted. But T1 feel that they're not in a good spot to contest, so they use the stolen Bardo to stall out the dragon, and instead look to open up the map by taking the mid turret. Keria walks up a little too far after stepping on the trap and gets rooted by the Jin W, so he can't flash out with the Bardo, and Doran is forced to run away as AL get another pick.
Flies out from Kyle and now they're looking to go in after Keria.
Now that the Autocon spawning, both supports are going to try to get early vision of the area, and Keria switches to Spellbook Teleport so that he can get more wards and come back right away. T1 keep pushing forward to try to bleed out the vision and force AL to slowly lose all of the wards, while Doran starts a 1v1 against Shakes in the top lane.
Doran going in, wants the 1v1 against Shanks. The Cassante is all out. Shanks fighting back, sidesteps the third and Tofo strike. Got a little dicey there at the end.
Shanks buys a second completed item, and AL want to look for a fight. The Avengers show up as everyone starts teleporting in. Since Kyle got rid of Keria's flash, AR are now on a time limit to punish the flash's support before the rest of T1 can arrive, while the T1 bot lane wants to stall for just a little longer until backup comes. Here, Jarvan is going to EQ to potentially ult the Ziggs, and I honestly don't know if Keria missed here or he was going for the Aurora on purpose, because he perfectly hooks the invisible Flandre and not the Jarvan, which saves Gumayushi from getting bursted as he sidesteps the Yone ult. Keria finally goes down, but AL had to run as Hope is AFK in the back shooting his ult from Narnia. Faker goes in with the stolen Aurora ult as he warps to the other side, then immediately goes back after a dash, which baits out the Jarvan EQ. Tarzan tries to ult the Vi to block his Q, but doesn't go far enough forward to do so, and the rest of AL try to escape.
Tarzan with a dunk, but he's only going to steal his own fate. Gumayushi barely holding on, but he burns down.
T1 secured the Autocon, but AL answered back by immediately rushing the dragon before anyone can contest and they get to soul point. We're back to fishing season as Keria looks for a random hook angle over the wall while pressuring Baron. But AO know how slow T1's Baron take is, so they're going to just take it slow and not risk walking up too fast. But now T1 knows that staying near the Baron isn't going to get them anything, so they look for a play on the other side of the map as Keria finds Jarvan in the jungle.
Maybe get an early summoner spell.
Okay, knocks Tarzan up into the air. Tempered Fate onto Tarzan.
Tarzan buffers his Q so that it comes out just as the Blitzcrank hook lands, but Flandre walked up a bit too far as Vi gets in range to land her ult, and this leads to another turret for T1. But look at the map. AO know that T1 have no vision of the red side jungle because of the wards they set up earlier. Right now they have vision of Doran at bot, Gumayushi mid, and eventually Faker top. So the only people they don't have vision of are Owner and Keria. But watch as the moment Keria places a ward on the bot jungle and they see Faker on a ward, AO made the call to all immediately run to gank the silence since they know from the single ward bot side that they had numbers advantage right now. And after they see Owner clearing a ward, they now got vision of every person on the map and know that Faker is completely alone. Kyle goes for a flash Q stun into ult, but Shanks wastes his own ult, not expecting the bar stasis. Doran teleports in and immediately jumps Hope in the backline, while the rest of AO kinda just give up on him and try to burst down Faker again.
From Faker keeping himself alive as Doran's under the back line. Hope is under pressure. Faker's still alive for now. Hope gonna be cut down. Doran going in and Faker's already cut down first. Hope next to die. It's a 1-for-1. AL's in the middle of everybody as Tarzan has to try to get away, and Carry is going to be focused, but he finds a pull over the wall beforehand. Flandra pulled in, but Doran shut down. Gumayushi over the wall with another satchel as Tarzan wants to find a little bit more, but he dies. Gumayushi and Owner working together as Guma dies to Shanks. Owner wants another. Flandra needs to get away, and he hops between worlds. Carry is the only one left alive, and that Guardian Angel will not hear the prayers of T1.
Since Owner was the last one to fall in the previous fight, he's still down when the Dragon comes up, and AO secure Dragon Soul. T1 are still in fishing season as they look for a pick. Doran gets caught and Faker immediately stops any potential burst with the Sword and Bartle. Kyle responds with an ult of his own to zone any potential T1 follow-up, and both teams walk away. T1 want to just stall for a bit until Owner's Jade comes off cooldown, while AO want to play it slow and take up vision, but eventually T1 starts up Baron to try to bait and engage. The AO support whiffs his skill shot by a mile and has to do the Walk of Shame out. Meanwhile, the T1 support flashes with his skill shot by a mile and has to do the Walk of Shame out. Both teams still want to look for something since they know that a single kill will lead to a potential Baron, so the chase continues.
Flandra had to back off before it could. Owner looking for an opportunity. Shanks jumps in, finds the Q3.
Flandra and Faker ult at the exact same time like they practiced this before the game, which zones both teams from walking up. T1 took too much damage though, as AO rushed to do the Baron. But everyone on T1 have TP up again, as the Avengers start flying in from everywhere to contest. Carrier walks forward for a hook, but AO know that Blitzcrank just used his flash, so Jarvan EQs immediately on the immobile support.
Support ready to join up as immediately the engage comes out from Tarzan. The target is Carrier. The Shanks seal finds everybody! Fangs in the back line as Gumayushi tries to get away. He's scattered, but he's knocked down by Tarzan. Faker scrambling as Kyle and Hope chase after him. Doran's gonna be the next target, and anyone's legend have forced the world champions back.
T1 know that Elder is going to spawn in a minute, so they want to get early vision in the AO bot side jungle when nobody is there. But Kyle also knows that T1 want to do this, so he spellbook teleports in advance toward T1's jungle as well. AO do their Avengers move as everyone teleports in to deny T1 from getting any vision. Owner gets caught, but watch as Flandra just gets eaten alive from the TP. Faker gets a perfect E2 knockup, into stun, into hook, into another knockup, and finally a silence, as he just gets CC changed from breathing oxygen, making it a 1-for-1 trade. But because the T1 jungler is down, AO still look to secure the Elder Dragon with Smite, and T1 are forced to contest it or lose the game, and the final fight arrives.
To approach, Doran's gonna be the point man, trying to make his way in there as Gumayushi continues to throw bouncing bombs. Elder Dragon down to 3,000, Fate Seal cuts through, but the stasis gonna lock everybody up. Tarzan's gonna be your focus. Mega Inferno Bomb over the top of the Elder is secured by anyone's legend, and they're continuing the fight. Faker is about to be executed as Doran falls too. Anyone's legend is murdering T1. Curtain call fires out. Most of the bullets won't find their target, but they won't need to. Anyone's legend forces T1 to match point and takes game 3.
We're now going deep into Fearless Draft, so there's 30 champions already gone from the pool. Overall team comps are going to be a little less important compared to just getting the generally strong champions that haven't been picked yet. T1 have a very dive heavy comp with scaling, while AL have a lot of champions that can just pick players off with CC and lock them up through skirmishes. Doran gives up his ward for the bot lane bush pile once again, while both junglers do a top to bot 6 camp clear pathing. T1 want to bully the enemy Leona with their double range combo for as long as they can to take early platings, while AL have to find ways to take aggressive trades.
Trying to clear out the camps that are at the front, knowing that T1 have that push on the bottom side and making sure that no sort of made. But Guma!
Yeah, immediately Guma under some pressure.
I also wanted to note that Skarner interestingly does blue first into Gromp and then Wolves instead of the usual pathing, which might indicate that he wanted to play more for mid lane this game, but I'm not entirely sure. Tarzan wanted to go for something mid but gets spotted by a ward, and since bot and top lane are pushing, Skarner has to give up both Scuttlecrafts since his lanes weren't in a good spot to help out. But after getting Vision of Nocturne from the plant, Tarzan sneaks into the bush through the Fog of War to set up a gank on Faker.
Wants to move towards him there with the Ishtal's impact, forces the flash.
Both sides just chill for a few minutes until everyone converges top around the Grubs timer. AO think that Doran recalled to go match Flandra's bot push, but the Ornn was just camping in the bush, waiting for AO to walk up too far. T1 make the call to go in, and watch how Gumayushi keeps hitting the minions in the back, since he is super close to hitting level 6.
Caught up in the fear, he waits to use the cleanse. Hope locked up by the Ornn, but he gets enough distance.
Guma levels up and wants to go for an ult, but loses vision at the last second. Carrier sees this and puts down a pink ward, so that Kai'Sa gets vision on the target to dash to. And now AO's escape route is blocked off, as T1 try to secure the kills before backup arrives. Shanks wants to W auto attack Q to proc the electrocute, but Doran barely manages to get in the bush, which cancels the LeBlanc Q.
Now the target, Shanks doesn't need him with a chain. He's got to try to get away as Tarzan wants to kill Doran. Shanks still in the back part of the fight. Tarzan with a 3-man impale. T1 still trying to fight as Faker arrives in.
T1 trade 4 for 2 and secure grubs, while Flandre gets a ton of play in his bot lane. The game slows down considerably as Faker goes Rod of Ages on Victor, and since Orin will be able to upgrade his teammates' items later on, T1 are totally fine with this chilling for a bit. You can see Faker literally AFK hugging his turret waiting for minions to push in, so that there's no chance to get picked off by walking up. But eventually, AO realized they had to do something or else they'll just get outscaled, so they look for a gank onto Doran.
Tarzan is looking to change that around. Nice use of the Bellow's breath, but he is pulled back by the claw from Flandre. He tries to get underneath the turret. Doran flashes away. Flandre does secure the kill, but now he's got to get away from the turret.
T1 call everyone to defend top while Faker keeps shoving bot, so that they can prevent AL from getting the first turret feat. Flandre tries to get a TP flank on the pushed up Victor, but Faker smells something weird and backs off just in time. He could have just died for the first turret, but then AO will probably turn that into a second dragon, so T1 decides to go for the safer option. And since Hope has to recall to finish his first item, AO aren't in a position to contest as T1 gets a free objective. A similar situation happens where now T1 want to seize the turret, while AO sent everyone to defend while Flandre keeps shoving top. And with the damage done in the earlier push, AO managed to get the first tower of the game. T1 start up the Herald while Faker secures the bot turret. Both teams are a little scared of each other as they go back and forth, but with the Herald slowly getting lower, everyone just sends it. Watch this crazy play by carrier's Nico. He transforms into his jungler as a Nocturnal eventually comes down, making AO's backline temporarily zoned away from walking in. Carrier sends a clone into the bush while he goes directly at the two carriers and just stands still. This weird movement along with the Nocturnal lowering their vision makes AO think that it's just a clone. Owner secures the Herald as Leona uses her ult on the Nico clone, while Carrier just keeps standing there menacingly. Corki walks up trying to see what's going on, and Carrier pulls the trigger with Guma instantly following him into the backline.
Carrier locks up Hope. Goma Yoshi into the back line of the AL. AD carries already down. Owner tries to flash away. Doran in the middle of everybody, but Flandre barely stays alive.
Guma gets Skarner ulted and Shanks looks to burst him down. LeBlanc goes back to her W and auto attacks the Kaisa, but before she can auto one more time for the kill, Guma Yoshi walks into the bush cutting vision, which cancels the last hit, and he barely survives as Shanks goes down.
Everybody on AL's dropping.
T1 want to snowball the lead into an autocon, but since AL still have all their spells up, they look to contest. Carrier tries to get another huge ultimate engage, but Kyle stuns him right as he channels it so it gets wasted. Owner and Doran target Hope with their ults, and Guma follows up shortly after. They burst down the Corki instantly as Owner gets yoinked into the back rooms by Mordekaiser. The fight's looking good for T1, but Shanks finds an angle on the flashless Victor, with the rest of AL following up. Guma tried to finish off the Skarner, but Kyle gets another amazing stun onto the ADC, as Flandre finally comes back after killing Owner, and AL clean up the fight.
The Otacon will be taken by anyone's legend.
T1 answers back right away, however, by sending their Victor with TP advantage top, while the rest of them goes to Dragon, and AL aren't in a position to contest, so they give it up. AL really want to defend this top turret, but they can't just throw out all their spells for nothing, and awkwardly retreat after realizing that it was a lost cause.
Kyle, Tarzan wants to swoop around, but the Impale misses.
T1 started the Baron looking for some kind of play. I think the idea was that after Flandre started his teleport, Faker would use his TP to flank from behind and try to collapse onto the 3 AL members walking up, while Nocturnal stopped everyone from seeing anything. But AL spot the teleport coming in before they get nearsighted, so now AL can prepare for the Victor even after they lose vision, and Faker is left in a really awkward spot. Orin and Nocturne once again bum rush to Corki as Guma follows closely behind, and just as it's looking good for T1 again, Tarzan gets an insane 3-man ultimate in the choke point, and the Mordekaiser is unleashed.
Is also already down. Shanks next to die. The Arcane Storm is a typhoon, but AL is fighting back. More damage to Guma Yoshi. Flandre wants him. Flandre can't find him.
Doran has a sick presence of mind moment here, where he sees both Skarner and Mordekaiser use their CC abilities, so he knows there's nothing left to stop him from just teleporting defensively to get out. Both Dragon and Baron are up, and after the Leona gets wasted, AO don't really have any good ways to engage onto T1 anymore, so they're going to try to position towards the Baron to lure T1 away from the Dragon. But T1 are perfectly fine with this positioning because they just naturally follow the minion wave to take mid, and after taking out some space, they send Guma Yoshi to solo the Dragon by himself as the rest of T1 just zones everyone away. AO realize that something's off, but before they can reposition, T1 sneak the objective and regroup for a fight.
T1 takes the Drake, and now they're ready for the 5v5. Doran summons up the Ornhorn. They're going in after Flandre. They want to focus the Mordekaiser. They've got him locked up in the CC, and Faker strikes him down.
T1 start the Baron 5v4, and Doran finds an angle.
Bit of poke, Kyle and Hope now. A nice catch from Doran. Hope is already down. Tarzan has to retreat.
But everyone's getting too low, and they think that Mordekaiser has teleport up soon, so they decide to just play it safe again and back off. T1 once again starts with the Baron to force AO to respond, and the moment they see Flandre teleporting in, they back off again to reposition. Faker does the exact same play here, where he tries teleporting to the other side while Nocturne ult blinds everyone, and AO don't know they're walking into the Victor.
Flandre's gonna get focused, but he is not dead. Big impale from Tarzan. A lot of damage comes through. Kyria dies before the Pop Blossom. Flandre in a little bit of trouble now, but he's still fighting. The shield keeps him alive.
He's looking for an angle onto Guma.
If he can find Gumayushi, that's the angle. That's the only way to win it. And there he goes. Shanks with the hero play as Hope tries to escape from Doran. He can't quite get there. He's feared up. Shanks nearly kills off Owner, but a beautiful spell shield keeps him alive. Shanks is trapped inside the gravity field.
After a long back and forth, T1 finally managed to pick off AO one by one, and with the jungler down, they rush to get the Baron and finally the Dragon Soul, before grouping up for a final push.
He flashes away. Guma flashes in. Carry with a three-man Pop Blossom will seal the fate of anyone's legend. Guma with a triple. Guma with a quadra. Only Flandre stands. Gumayushi finally dies, but AL will die with him. T1. They will take us to Silver Scrapes.
AL start the final draft with Jinx, and T1 respond with Renekton Mundo. So we gotta talk about this pick. If you don't know the story behind this Mundo pick, boy do I have a surprise for you. I want to clarify again that this is Game 5 of Worlds quarterfinals. Whoever loses this gets knocked out of the tournament. And especially in this final game of the series, you think that everyone would try to choose a champion that they have a good amount of practice on? Except for the fact that Owner has never played Mundo before. After the series took place, T1 released the voice cons from his draft, and it was revealed that Owner didn't even know what Mundo spells were. They told him to read what the spells did after the game started. So I have no idea how I was supposed to review this game with the additional knowledge that Owner had no idea what he was doing. You have Doran over here on the side, wondering if he's hearing things properly, as all of T1 are unironically telling Owner to first time Mundo in Game 5. Like he's deadass just like, this is a team that won multiple worlds. T1 chose Mundo because they were scared of AL picking it, and it would definitely be a big problem for the comp they went. But dude, it's like, this is gonna empower all those people that try to justify first timing a champion in ranked. Like, no.
Baker's like pulled up in a custom match showing them how to play Mundo, and then you got the coach going, yeah, just play Mundo, and then others like, okay.
AL are scared of what crazy strategy T1 had with the Mundo, so they all group up for a potential invade. Little do they know, T1 had no intention of doing anything because Owner is reading what Mundo spells do right now. This time, Faker uses his ward for bot lane, while Carrier goes scanner start for the bush control. Ashe hotshots and T1 get vision of Tarzan's pathing. Faker decides to commit war crimes and steals small raptors, which prevents the Sejuani from getting level 3. Owner wards the jungle opening and then walks across the lane to go for top scuttle. He doesn't even try to go for a Q poke, likely due to the fact that he doesn't know what his Q does, but AO expects that all of the jungle openings are warded, so watch as Tarzan actually jumps over the wall through the dragon pit to catch T1 off guard for a gank.
Yeah, Gumayushi and Kyria having to back away. The zap does not connect on Gumayushi. Tarzan down here in the bottom lane. Guma wants first blood on the Kyle. It's going to be secured by Kyria.
T1 managed to trade a kill, but the lane state is absolutely miserable for them. So Doran actually teleports immediately without going home to hard shove the wave and prevent the freeze. And Flandre has to match the teleport to prevent an entire minion wave or two from being lost. Since the bot lane was taken over by the top laners, both teams send their bot lanes up. T1 knows Sejuani's initial pathing, so they send out a hawk shot around when they think that Tarzan should be in the area to clear the camps, but it doesn't actually spot the AO jungler. They immediately ping that something might be off as they predict that Tarzan is going for a wide flank. Faker walks up toward the opening and T1 send another hawk shot to confirm their suspicions, and Tarzan has to retreat after getting spotted. Because Owner just kept permafarming his jungle, while Tarzan used up a lot of time going for gank Gingo's bot and top, T1 called for a dragon. You can see from the ping they did on the minion wave that they communicated to shove out bot with the clear timing, and combined with the level difference between the junglers, AO had to give up the first dragon. T1 tried to use their tempo to get grubs, but AO are just not in a position to fight. And after Guma stops both of the bot laners' recalls with his ult, T1 get another objective for free.
Nearly qualifying for that MSI final, but missing out. Owner looking maybe to try to set up for a dive down here, but Tarzan reads the play. He's ready to defend here in a 3v3, but it's still going to be another turret plate going the way of Gumayushi and Kyria. The Ashe Seraphine so strong.
And Owner kind of Losing some health. He misses every briefcase.
AO have to realize they're on a time limit. Not only do they have to win before T1 can continue to stack objectives, AO have to win before Owner can learn how to play Mundo. Since T1 managed to completely chunk out AO's bot lane, they get another dragon for free, as nobody's nearby to contest. Tarzan overextends, but T1 aren't coordinated. They use their CC on different targets, and now AO look to slowly turn as Flandre teleports in.
Shanks could be the one under pressure, wants to fire back into the T1 lines. Owner flashing away, staying alive, but there's the Glacial Prison. Only connects under the tank, but Flandre's arrived into the fight. They fought too! Anyone's Legend got exactly what they were looking for. Faker at least gets one back.
AO look to stop Doran from going home and finishing up his first item. They send out a Jinxo to stop the first recall, and then use Lulu Redemption to stop the second recall. But just as Sejuani gets in range to dive, Keria answers with a redemption of his own, and Doran uses his ult to immediately clear out the wave and stops the play. AO can't let T1 get the third dragon, so they completely give up top lane as Flandre comes down to group with the team immediately. AO gets chunked out near the dragon, and as the Lulu redemption comes down, Keria knows that everyone is going to be grouped near each other, so he tries to look for a flash ult, but just barely misses. And Tarzan uses his timing to try to go in himself.
Owner's gonna be in some danger as immediately Tarzan jumps in the middle of everyone and has to try to flash away. Flandre on the flank.
Eventually, T1 secure the third dragon and then the mid turret. Both teams eventually converge on the Otacon, but Hope has 2 full items on the Jinx, while Guma hasn't had time to recall to buy his yet, as Faker starts to engage with a Mel Root.
Doran who finds him, as now the Solar Snare finds Tarzan, and T1 are moving forward. They charm up the enemy jungler. Tarzan's already down, but Doran dies. Hope is excited, but where's the rest of the fight? Keria tries to get away. Guma Yoshi right beside him. Flandre here in the front line as Owner's gonna be chopped up. The Mundo dies. Hope's on a killing spree. Flandre going forward, but Faker takes him out. Hope, Shanks, and Kael trying to get away. Guma, Keria, and Faker stepping forward. The Otacon, it's impatient, but it's so close to dead. It is stolen away by Faker himself.
Dragon spawns and AO look again for some kind of flank. Gumayushi walks out of vision to ult so that Shanks has the least amount of time to see the arrow coming out of the fog of war. T1 land the Ash ult, but they can't converge on Shanks as the rest of AO are already right over the wall for a follow-up, and everyone focuses back onto the objective. Owner wins the smite fight, and now they have to run from the robbery.
When it's claimed, the soul for T1, but Owner has already died. AL have got to find more, unless they want to lose the game here. Doran takes a ton of burst. Scout of the week, the damage from the unleashed power.
3 members of T1 go down as AO finishes off with a mid turret. But getting Hextech Soul means that T1 are going to have insane damage from poking in teamfights. Both teams position around Baron, but Owner gets caught, likely due to not knowing Mundo's limits yet, and gets CC chained before he can even pop his ult. Flandre teleports in and rushes onto the flashless Faker.
Talk about clutch moments, there you go. Tarzan and Flandre going forward. Faker's gonna be caught. So much damage from AL. Faker about to die.
It's 3v5 now, but AO used everything, and now T1 try to take advantage of the Hextech Soul to keep poking from afar.
For the Syndra here just yet. Tarzan over the wall wants to go in after Keria. Infernal Chains are going to connect. This Seraphine is down. Tarzan is traded, but Doran has died too. It's Gumayushi against anyone's legend as he tries to kite and fight, but he's stunned. Good night, but kill for Shanks.
Guma barely doesn't manage to trade the kill, but he did his job as AO are forced to back off, leaving Baron still up. T1 don't even look at Baron as they try to get vision around the Dragon Pit. AO also know that if they overcommit for a Baron, and T1 will just be able to zone them away while they get Elder. So both teams keep going back and forth until Flandre decides to walk up for a pink ward without vision over the wall, and T1 look for the pick right away.
Flandre gonna move forward, try to clear away the control ward. They're going in after the Aatrox. They set him up with the arrow. Flandre has been caught at a critical moment. Over the wall goes Tarzan. Wild Growth coming in from Kael. Guardian Angel will blink Flandre back, but where is the damage on AL's side? Doran into the back line. Kael is already down. Doran killed in response. T1 pushing forward. Shanks the next kill.
Hope and Tarzan aren't in position to base, so they're going to keep running upwards for as long as possible until Flandre can base, regen, then TP back for the second fight. T1 see the teleport coming in and realize they won't be able to finish off the picks before Aatrox arrives, so they instead change their focus to try to burst Flandre as he shows up, and round 2 starts. Guma actually missed positions a bit at the start, since he immediately runs left after Wing instead of downwards with the rest of his team, and now he's scared of Sejuani dashing in that small time frame where he walks across, so he has to path all the way back around, which means T1 don't have enough damage to burst the Aatrox.
Owner taking a ton of damage. Hope is excited. Flandre's got the kill. Solar Snare on Hope, but it's not going to do anymore. Flandre's going to try to get away.
Faker uses every single drop of mana he has as he zones away Hope with his E. Keria positions as a tank as he scans in front of Sejuani to block the dash for Gumayushi for as long as he can.
To engage on the Gumayushi, but he cannot find him. Flandre over the wall, wants Faker, can't get the damage. Hope can't do it either. Gumayushi's still alive. T1 out team fight anyone's legend.
But T1 kites perfectly as Guma glides across the alcove to finally win the fight, and with the respawn timers being too high, T1 secure the Elder and the Baron. AO sends Flandre to try to shove out the bot wave, and they look for one last possible pick mid before recalling to defend. But there's too many wards in the area as AO gets spotted and have to fall back. It's now a race against time. T1 want to end the game right now while they have both Baron and Elder Dragon buff, since the odds of them getting both again later on are slim. But AO want to just keep stalling until right after the Elder buff goes down to go in, and with the timer slowly ticking down, every second matters as the final fight of Game 5 arrives.
Seconds left on it. T1 guiding the Baroned up minions toward the Nexus turrets. Solar Snare not hitting a target. Flandre and the rest of AL scrambling to try to defend. Nexus turret's down to about half HP. Owner takes some burst. Tarzan takes more. T1 looking for the engage. They found Flandre, but he gets away. Half HP on the front line of AL. T1 pushing forward. They've made their way on the Nexus. AL scrambles to defend. Doran can't do it.